Cleaning the rangefinder is a common necessity on these cameras now that many of them are approaching 50 years of age. The rangefinder windows get dirty, and the adjustment screw for the rangefinder itself tends to get off, especially when the camera has been improperly stored and the springs that hold tension on the rangefinder have lost their tension. These are the two viewfinder windows that you're looking through when you look inside the viewfinder. To clean the viewfinder, this takes a little bit more work than the rest of what we've done so far, because this is the only part of the Stereo Realist that requires you to peel some leather. The rangefinder is accessible by taking off this leather strip on the bottom of your Stereo Realist. Underneath are 5 screws holding a plate on. To peel the leather, I use one of these small jeweler screwdrivers, and I'll typically start down in a corner and try to get underneath the leather. I can't emphasize enough that you want to go very slowly while doing this. You don't want to rip this leather. If the leather's too dry and you notice that it's starting to tear, moisturize the leather as we've shown you earlier on in the video, and try it again another day. I'm just gently working the tip of the screwdriver under the leather, between the leather and the base plate of the camera. As you can tell, I've exposed the first screw right there. And I can tell that somebody's opened up this camera before and they've resealed the leather onto it using mucilage, a paper glue made out of horses' hooves, which is an organic and will deteriorate the leather over time. When you reattach this leather, you want to use rubber cement exclusively. Let's move over to the other side and try to get that other screw exposed. Sometimes a smaller screwdriver can help you get started. As you can tell, this camera has a crease in the leather right here and right here. Those aren't rips, but somebody's obviously worked on this viewfinder before, and as I'm starting to take this leather up, it's starting to tear on me, and I can tell that it's very brittle and very dry. What I'm going to do is moisturize the leather, as we've shown you how to do in this tape, and return in a few days to remove this leather from the base plate once it has reestablished its moisture level. Take your time, work slowly, work gently, and you need to peel the leather off the base of your camera, starting on one end and working towards the middle. There are 5 screws on the bottom of a Stereo Realist you need to get access to in order to get into the rangefinder. Looking at the camera this way, there are 2 screws on this end, one here and one here. It's very hard to see. Somebody has reattached this leather with mucilage, and it's pretty awful stuff. Use rubber cement when you reattach it. The middle screw is right here, and let me give you a landmark. Here where your viewfinder windows are, the 5th screw is right there. You don't have to peel the entire strip of leather off of the camera. You can get away with just doing those. And you have 2 screws right at the ends here, and also right under the leather on this little end here. So now what I'm going to do is remove those 5 screws so I can get access to the entire rangefinder. These are brass screws and they're fairly small, so work carefully. Sometimes you get a little gunk stuck in the screw head and you got to go in and dig it out. There we go. When you have all 5 screws removed from the bottom of the camera, you just lift the plate out nice and gently. There goes the cover, and it gives you access to the interior of the rangefinder of this camera. To complete your access to this camera, you need to remove this screw, which is on the right hand side of your rangefinder and viewfinder windows. Some cameras have a different size screw in that hole, which is very difficult to get out. I have a couple of methods you can take this screw out with. One is taking a pair of scissors, putting it down into that hole, and twisting until the screw comes up. Another method, which has met with some success, is to file a small notch here and here and use a regular screwdriver head to remove this screw.